So we were talking about this the other day. I think what brought this up was there was news in Facebook about somebody
Yeah.
brought up something with this.
Yeah, it was a celebrity who was behaving inappropriately sexually with a number of women.
Younger women.
Younger women,
Yeah.
actually, younger women. And it really made me wonder how, as a society, and how can we help men move from following their lower urges to living from the heart?
That's a good question. I know that for when I look at my own self, when I look about where I was years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I was moving from those lower urges just because I wasn't taught any different.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seemed like that's what men do. And I didn't have any other way to be. I wanted to be another way,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't have any other way. And so without any other way, actually for me, I just kind of reacted to life in the best way that I knew how, and suppressed my emotions with alcohol.
Yeah.
So, and then I just distracted myself with things that made it look like I was living a good life, which were healthy activities, volleyball and martial arts and surfing, all that stuff made it look on the outside that everything was cool, but on the inside there was something deeply out of integrity. But in that is the self-hatred. Wow, I'm out of integrity with myself, and I don't know where to go.
Right.
And it just becomes this loop, and you just hate yourself because what you're doing. You know you can be a better man, but you just don't know how. And you hear these stories about men that are such good men, or like when I grew up, it was Kwai Chang Kang, and he was so peaceful and so centered and so could take care of himself.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not Kwai Chang Kang, I'm not that guy. So it was always this thing, man, I wish I was a better person. I'll just try and be a nice person.
Yes.
And that leads down this path of just being a people pleaser.
Right. I remember in my own past and awakening, and that I lived a life numbing out myself. Lots of alcohol, lots of drugs, lots of doing activities that were not at all good for me, because I didn't know a better way. And that was the way that was happening, and that was the way that was okay with me. So what happened? How does one move? How did you work through it? How did you move into your heart?
Heavy sigh, because I had been so stubborn in my life that I needed a big explosion, a big breakdown in my life,
Mm-hmm.
to get me to move to this other way. But once I had that big breakdown, I guess you call it the dark night of the soul, where, divorce and kids leaving and job going away and all that stuff, and I'm left there going, wow, what do I do in the world now?
Mm-hmm.
But that got me onto the path of looking at myself. And that, there's so many challenges from men, like things that they can be involved in. You could join the military and be a tough military guy, or you could get into mixed martial arts, and they're all very tough things to do. But the toughest thing you can do is look at yourself, to look at your own emotions and to uncover what is true and what is not true. And that's not a path for everyone, but since I was a little kid, I've always had that inner desire to know the truth.
Right.
And if I want to know the truth, then that means looking at myself too.
Right.
And I can't say that I didn't know this the whole time. It's not like I was that guy the whole time. But it took a little while for me to dip my toe in the water and feel like, okay, I could look at that part. And then the more I looked at that part, other things started to be uncovered. But I realized the more that I uncovered and looked at, the more I could accept myself, and then start to love myself.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the key right
Yeah.
there, isn't it? Do you feel like men are ready to look at themselves without having to go through the dark night of the soul?
Yes, some are.
Mm-hmm.
Some are stubborn like I was,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they're not ready to do it without the big crumbling down of their life. But I've met, I've been meeting, it used to be 95% women were my clients because they were usually the ones that were ready. But it's totally flopped. It's been such a trip to, like, every single guy that I'm in front of or I've been doing remote sessions with, it's all men.
Which is fantastic, because that means that men are ready to do the work. And this is
Yeah.
what we women have been waiting for so long.
And that's why all this stuff is
Fantastic.
up right now.
Right.
It's like the reason why all this is, the guys are ready to work on it and their guys aren't, but it's all up right now with this whole Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein and all the other, this child pedophilia, all that stuff is up right now. It's all this old wounded masculine energy, but it's causing us guys that are down here, in the regular world, to look at our stuff.
Fantastic.
So, and on the one hand, it looks like, oh my gosh, all this crap is up right now.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, it needs to be looked at. It needs to be brought up to the surface.
Absolutely.
So all us guys that are conscious about this are going, wow, is that inside of me? Is that something that I need to look at? And we get to look at that.
What do you suggest to guys who are ready to work on themselves? What do you, where do you suggest they go?
Find someone of higher consciousness. Not just your buddy, that your drinking buddy that's going to tell you, screw that, have another beer kind of thing. You don't want that. You want someone that is already living in that vibration,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's me or someone else. I would love it for it to be me. Because I love this work. But find someone that you resonate with, that you really connect with, that you feel like, yeah, this guy's got his shit together. This guy is living that life and he's walking the talk.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the big thing, is make sure you find someone who's walking the talk. And I don't mean to say that there aren't women like Anahata and you and different people that have that wisdom. It's just that coming from a man that kind of can talk to a man that way, from being in that position, it's a different thing.
I totally can see that. Yeah, I can completely see that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of help that men can get from other teachers, but then it kind of, and they'll all admit, it goes up to a certain level, like just like with me with women doing that work.
Yeah.
It goes to a certain level, and then there's not much I can do after that because I'm not a woman, so I can't speak from being in that position.
Yeah, I understand that. I believe that I've needed to work with women counseling, and I've needed to work with male counselors. All those wounds. I'm really, really happy that so many men are coming to do the work right now. I see it through your business, and I see it on Facebook. I see the men are ready, and I think that we really need this. And my prayers are that for a society that one day every man is living from his heart and in integrity, and every woman is also living from her heart and in integrity. When I'm a believer, I believe it's possible.
I know I've been looking for this for a long time too, to be around other men that are on that same path.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized about that was, I was wondering where all the other men were. Where's all the other guys that are doing this work?
Right.
Am I the only dude out there, But it was only because I hadn't fully embodied it. So I needed to just embody it, and then let the guys show up.
Right, because once you reach a certain frequency, then everything starts to change in your outer world, and you start to meet new people, and people start coming, and everything starts changing. So,
there's lots of guys that I know that are in this work, and we all still screw up. We all still make mistakes, but we don't get taken down by them so hard like we used to. And we love ourselves through the whole process. And we have a way of a different perspective at looking at things, different awareness about things, and we can see our life in a different position that we did before.
Thank you. From the Divine Feminine, we thank you. We thank you so much for doing the work. And we thank all of you, all of the men who are coming into their divinity, and all of you men who are leading them to their divinity. So we thank you.
You're reminding me of something that was really powerful a few years ago with my friend Anthony Johnson in Tawaswa. And he did a men's retreat called Future Masculine. And I remember there was a part in that each man that we walked down, we were at the Cradle Life Center, and each man met another man. Well, I was one of those greeters, and I walked him to the next one, and then eventually to Mtwaswa, who walked them into the pagoda thing out there, and they were blindfolded. And it brings up emotions now, but they were blindfolded, and they had all these women surrounding them, and they all started singing, and they all started blessing and prayers and thank you from the Divine Feminine. And it was so powerful. When the guy opened up his eyes, he was like on the floor, bawling his eyes out, for, I'm sure, this realization of, I'm so sorry for all the damage that I've done, all the damage that my brothers have done. I love you so deeply. And they're singing and they're forgiving, and it was like, if there ever was like a motivation for a guy to do his work, that's a huge motivation to reconnect with that sacred feminine as an equal, as a coming up. Here it is, in the past, this is my perspective, is that here it is in the past, there's been all these women doing all this work, and the guys just not quite ready yet. And the women going, when are they going to be ready? And they just keep on doing their work. They just keep on supporting us. And then finally, here's the guys starting to do their work. It's like, yeah, we're waiting for you here. We're not going any higher until you come up here, and then we can all go up together. It's an amazing vision to have. So
thank you for sharing that. Wow. So, what is life like for an awakened man?
So much easier. It's so much easier. It's so funny, like there's this idea, well, if you use the word like enlightened or enlightenment, I always thought like an enlightened person was this man that knew everything, that had all the answers, and that's not what it is. And that's not surely what an awakened man is. But life as an awakening man is so much easier. Life is so much easier than it was before. Oh my gosh, it's this wrong idea that life is so tough. Like you've got to be on all the time. You've got to be, in your integrity perfectly all the time. And it's not like that. When you're living from your heart, everything comes naturally from your feeling. It's only when I've thought from my lower self and from my mind that things are all jumbled. Like I can't make a decision. I don't know which way to go. I screw up and then I hate myself. All that comes from all that stuff. But when I'm living from my heart, it just comes from feeling and from knowing. When you have feeling and knowing, you've already done it. You've already made your decision from that place, and so you can just move forward with whatever is going on in your life instead of questioning everything that's going on. I have so much less drama in my life. Crap doesn't happen to me like it used to before. I have everything that I need. I attract an amazing woman in my life. I mean, that's just some of the perks. Things manifest so quickly. And one of the other mistruths is that I need to become something. And it's not about becoming. It's about releasing anything that you thought you were, to just stand in more loving awareness. And again, it doesn't mean like I have to be loving all the time. It's not being a personality, a loving personality. It's just being more in awareness more. And when you're that, it's just, I can't even imagine anything different now. Like, I look back at myself when I wasn't that, and I just love that guy. I love what he was trying to do with what he had and didn't have. But it's just a different place now.
I'm certainly glad you got here.
And I know we've talked about this before, but I think one of the core things with men and women too, but we're talking about men, like the core thing behind the whole thing is that we're resisting love. We're resisting like divine love, unconditional love, universal love, cosmic love, God's love. And we find ways to push that away. I'm not worthy of it, I'm not lovable, I've made these mistakes, I've cheated on this person, whatever the thing is, to say that, yeah, but I'm a special case. But it's all not true. And when we can finally, like, this is what happened when I completely loved myself in all ways. When I completely allowed love to come in, completely 100%, you showed up. And then because I allowed that and just completely showed you something that was completely open to receiving that, you went, oh, I can be myself, my own loving self. And then you became that, and I went, oh, wow, that's great.
It's great how it builds upon each other. The divine masculine, the divine feminine at play, building upon each other.
Yeah.
Very, very sacred play from the heart.
Yeah.
Very beautiful, loving exchange.
Yeah.
Building upon each other and allowing for each other, and just the love just grows and grows and grows.
Yeah. It feels like I can really be a man. I know that's a kind of a weird thing to say, but I can really be a full and complete man without any wounded feminine and without any victim consciousness and that stuff that pulls me away from, I'm a man this time.
Right. Well,
You
I
know?
have to say that what I'm finding is that your being a full, complete man allows me to be a full, complete woman and completely anchored in my divine feminine. And it's the first time in my life that I've ever really experienced this, and it's phenomenal.
Super empowering.
It's so
right?
amazing to allow you to do for me what a man does for a woman. And to allow myself to receive, because when we're in receiving mode, we're in that divine feminine, because we are the cup, the chalice that gets to be filled with this divine love, and to have it show up in human form is out of this world. So thank you for sharing that, and for letting us all know what it's like to live in the divine masculine.
It's so nice to be in that balance, because, and then it's like once you're in that, and then I see that and feel you in your power, you in your divine feminine power and your creativity and your expression, it fills me, and it just gives me even more permission to be in my full masculine, which goes back to you. It's just this
the divine dance.
It's nice. It's really
super
nice. Yeah. So I think that something more needs to be shared about, like, practical tools, because us guys are kind of practical sometimes. So like, what can I do, kind of thing. And one of the things that we can do as men is to find an example of an awakened man, of a conscious man. And whether it's like it's an actor that you see over and over again showing up in a certain way, or it's some kind of a leader, or someone that's around your circle that you really can look at and exemplify, that there are certain qualities about that man that you can start to say, I'd like to create that. And once you start to put intention to that, and you start to put energy into that, then it starts to show up in different ways. Different YouTube videos will show up, or different books will show up. David Data was one book that I read, The Way of the Superior Man, The Power of Now, things that kind of pulled out of me, that challenged me. And one of the big things that I came to realize is, again, there's that inner challenge, the greatest challenge I've ever had, is the challenge to become something greater than what I thought was my limit. What I mean by that is, like, I thought I was a pretty decent guy, pretty likable guy, and pretty good at, and have done a lot of work, and I'm a nice guy, all that kind of stuff. But where I could go is here. But I was resisting by by my partner's demands, and I need you to be more. And so I would resist. My ego would get in and say, this is who I am. If you can't love me as I am, that kind of stuff. And I stopped myself. But then I had this epiphany. Could it be that who she needs me to be is who I long to be, but I just haven't known how? There's a longing inside of me that I want to be this, that will completely fulfill her needs and desires, and to be this kind of man. I just haven't known how. So it's like to see everybody's. What if I just became what she needed? Like, I wouldn't ask that from men. What if you just became everything that she needs? Are you that powerful? Are you that strong with yourself that you can just become that? Or are you going to fall back into victim consciousness and the woundedness and say, she has to just deal with it? And it's a challenge. It's a challenge for anyone to just drop out of the ego and say, yeah, I'm gonna pull myself out of my egoic mind and pull myself into my heart and just become. So that's kind of a challenge, I guess.